The grand assembly of the unified species stretched across the artificial ring world of Nexus Prime, its crystalline dome reflecting the light of three suns. Supreme Arbiter Xylith, her translucent form pulsing with bioluminescent patterns, surveyed the gathering of 10,000 representatives from across the known galaxy. Each species had sent their most esteemed leaders to participate in what would become the most catastrophic decision in galactic history. We gather today. Xylith's thoughts resonated through the neural network connecting all attendees to address the anomaly known as Earth. The mention of the word sent ripples of contempt through the assembly. Director Mavic of the Technological Assessment Bureau floated forward, his cybernetic enhancements gleaming. Our latest analysis confirms that these humans remain strictly planetary bound. They have achieved nuclear fission, yes, but their attempts at space exploration are primitive at best. They rely on chemical propulsion and have barely touched their own moon. Laughter echoed through the chamber. Ambassador K'tal of the warrior clans flexed his armored exoskeleton. Their military capabilities are laughable. They still wage wars with projectile weapons and crude explosives. My youngest hatchling commands more advanced technology in their learning cube. And yet came the measured thoughts of Elder Cynthia, her quantum-based consciousness manifesting as a shimmering cloud. They have rejected our previous 3 attempts at diplomatic contact. They question our motives, demand evidence of our benevolence, and refuse to acknowledge the Assembly's authority. The Assembly buzzed with indignation. Resource Coordinator Vex 427 projected his analysis into the shared consciousness. Earth sits upon a wealth of rare elements crucial to our civilization's expansion. Their planet's magnetic field and atmospheric composition make it ideal for biological engineering. Their population of 8 billion represents an untapped labor force that could accelerate our megastructure projects by decades. Supreme Arbiter Xylith raised her appendages for silence. The question before us is simple. Shall we continue to tolerate this primitive species' defiance, or shall we take what we require by force? General Crox of the combined fleet slithered forward, his scaled skin reflecting prismatic patterns. My forces stand ready. We have mapped every military installation on their planet. Their primitive defense systems would not detect our approach until we emerge from hyperspace directly above their major cities. Total pacification could be achieved within one of their solar rotations. But what of their supposed adaptability? Asked Science Minister Quix, her crystalline form refracting light across the chamber. Our studies suggest humans possess an unusual capacity for technological learning and psychological resilience. Irrelevant, dismissed Security Director Malx, his black chidness armor absorbing light. No species has ever successfully resisted integration into the assembly. These humans will be no different. Their divisions make them weak. They fragment themselves by nations, religions, and ideologies. They will never unite against us. Supreme Arbiter Xylith's form pulsed with satisfaction. The motion before the assembly is clear. We will deploy our combined fleets to Earth, establish control over their military and governmental facilities, and begin the systematic integration of their population into our workforce. Their resources will be appropriated for the greater good of galactic civilization. The vote was displayed across the dome of the assembly chamber. Species after species registered their approval. The Silicon Collective, the hive networks of Centauri, the quantum consciousness of Sirius, the Biotechnology Consortium, all voted yes. As the final tally appeared, showing unanimous approval, Xylith allowed herself a moment of pride. Let the record show that on this day, the assembly voted as one. The human species will be elevated from their primitive state and given purpose within our greater civilization. May future generations remember our wisdom. Only junior observer Ethra, barely noticed at the edges of the assembly, felt a flicker of unease. Having studied human history more deeply than most, she had noticed something her superiors had overlooked. Every time humans had faced overwhelming odds in their brief history, they had not simply survived, they had emerged stronger. But who would listen to a junior observer? The assembly had made its decision. The invasion fleet would launch within a single planetary rotation. None of them realized they had just signed the death warrant of their comfortable galactic order. Humans were about to teach the galaxy's oldest civilizations a lesson about the true meaning of adaptation, innovation, and sheer, unstoppable determination. The invasion began exactly as planned. 10,000 warships of the Assembly's combined fleet emerged from hyperspace in perfect formation, their massive forms blotting out the sun over Earth's major population centers. General Crox watched from the command deck of the flagship Inevitable Destiny, anticipating a swift victory. "Initiate planetary communications blackout," Crox ordered, his scaled form coiled around the neural interface chair. The fleet's quantum disruptors activated, severing Earth's satellite networks and electronic communications in seconds. Security Director Malxus' hologram appeared on the bridge. "Their primitive military installations are attempting to launch nuclear weapons. How quaint." "Let them," Crox replied with amusement. "Let them witness the futility of resistance." Missiles streaked upward from Earth's surface, their nuclear payloads carrying enough power to devastate cities. They struck the fleet's quantum shields and dissipated harmlessly, like raindrops against transparent steel. The humans' most powerful weapons couldn't even scratch their ship's paint. "Deploy the pacification drones," Crox commanded. Millions of silver spheres descended through Earth's atmosphere, releasing electromagnetic pulses that disabled power grids, vehicles, and electronic devices across entire continents. Cities went dark. Aircraft fell from the sky. Military bases fell silent. But something was wrong. "Sir," a junior officer interrupted, her bioluminescent patterns showing confusion. "We're detecting anomalous energy signatures from multiple locations." "Impossible," Crox dismissed. "Their technology is too primitive to." The officer's warning was cut short as a brilliant beam of light lanced up from the Earth's surface, cutting through the quantum shields of a destroyer as if they were tissue paper. The massive warship split in half, its antimatter core detonating in a miniature sun. "What was that?" Crox demanded, his scales darkening with rage. "Unknown, sir. The energy signature doesn't match any known weapon type. It appears to be a modified version of our own quantum disruptor technology. But that's impossible. They couldn't have." 3 more beams struck the fleet, 3 more ships destroyed. Panic spread through the command network as reports flooded in from ground forces already deployed. "The humans in Containment Zone 7 have broken free. They've somehow reversed our neural control devices. They're using our own weapons against us. Sir, they're hacking our network." "But how?" "Their computers are primitive." Resource Coordinator Vex 427's panicked transmission cut through the chaos. "The processing centers, they're empty. 3 million humans just vanished. Our sensors can't track them." Crox's blood ran cold as he realized their terrible mistake. The humans hadn't been resisting the initial invasion because they couldn't. They had been watching, learning, analyzing their enemies' every move and technology. In the heart of what was once New Delhi, Dr. Sarah Chen smiled as she activated the quantum transmitter she had reverse-engineered from a captured drone. Her message broadcast simultaneously to every human resistance cell across the globe. "Operation Trojan Horse is now active. You all know your targets. Remember your training. Use their own arrogance against them. They think we're primitive. Let's show them just how quickly humans can evolve." Across the planet, humanity revealed the full extent of their preparation. Underground bunkers that the alien sensors had dismissed as primitive shelters turned out to be advanced research and manufacturing facilities. What appeared to be simple refugee camps were actually training grounds where humans had been practicing with stolen alien technology. In orbit, Crox watched in horror as human ships began emerging from hidden bases on the dark side of the moon. Ships that somehow combined Earth's primitive technology with stolen assembly innovations in ways their scientists had never imagined possible. "How?" he demanded. "How did they advance so quickly?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Junior Observer Etherist final transmission reached the fleet moments before her observation post was captured. We made two critical mistakes. First, we assumed that because humans hadn't achieved our level of technology, they couldn't understand it. Second, we forgot that humans don't just adapt to survive. They adapt to win. A massive explosion rocked the flagship as another human weapon found its mark. Crocs watched in disbelief as a swarm of small, agile Earth vessels executed maneuvers that should have been impossible with their level of technology. They weren't just using stolen assembly tech. They had improved upon it. All ships, full retreat. Crocs ordered, but it was too late. The humans had somehow created a localized disruption field that prevented hyperspace jumps. The mighty invasion fleet was trapped. In her underground command center, Dr. Chen addressed her fellow resistance leaders. For centuries, humanity dreamed of reaching the stars. We watched our skies, wondering if we were alone. When they came, they thought our wonder was weakness. Our curiosity was primitive. Our divisions made us vulnerable. They never understood that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our weapons. It's our infinite capacity to learn, to adapt, and to turn our enemies' strength against them. She paused, watching as another assembly warship succumbed to Earth's defenders. They came to enslave us. Instead, they gave us the keys to the galaxy. And now they'll learn why throughout human history, underestimating us has always been a fatal mistake. Supreme Arbiter Xylith's form flickered with distress as she addressed the emergency session of the assembly. The once proud chamber now held barely a quarter of its usual representatives. Many were too busy dealing with the crisis unfolding across their territories. In the 30 days since our invasion force engaged Earth, we have lost contact with 40% of our fleet. Our ground forces report massive defections. The humans are not just resisting. They are systematically dismantling our entire military structure. The assembled leaders watched in horror as tactical displays showed the extent of their failure. Earth had become a graveyard for their most advanced technology, and worse, a laboratory where humans were rapidly evolving beyond anything the assembly had thought possible. In the ruins of what was once the assembly's primary processing center in former Tokyo, Dr. James Rodriguez worked feverishly with a team of international scientists. Around them, captured alien technology merged seamlessly with human innovations. What the assembly had intended as a facility to process human slaves had become humanity's premier research and development center. They never understood what they gave us. James explained to a group of newly arrived resistance fighters. Every piece of their technology, every captured ship, every damaged drone. It was all built on the assumption that their way was the only way. But humans, we see possibilities where they see limitations. He gestured to a wall of floating holoscreens, each showing different breakthroughs. Their neural interfaces were designed to control slaves. We repurposed them for instant learning and knowledge sharing. Their quantum shields were meant to protect their ships. We turned them into weapons. Their hyperspace technology was built for their massive ships. We miniaturized it for guerrilla warfare. In orbit, Commander Sarah Chen, now leading Earth's rapidly growing defense fleet, received the latest intelligence from their deep space probes. The Assembly's reinforcement fleet was gathering at their nearest stronghold, preparing for a massive counterattack. But this time, Earth would not be caught unprepared. They still think like conquerors, she transmitted to all Earth defense stations. They build bigger ships, stronger weapons, more powerful shields. But we've learned to think differently. We don't need to match their strength. We need to transform it into our advantage. Deep beneath the Himalayan mountains, in a facility that didn't officially exist, Dr. Aisha Patel made the breakthrough that would change everything. She had been studying the quantum-based consciousness of the Assembly's artificial intelligences when she discovered something extraordinary. Their entire civilization is built on quantum networks, she explained to the Emergency Earth Council. Their ships, their weapons, their very minds are all connected through quantum entanglement. They thought this made them invincible. But every network has its vulnerabilities, and we've just found theirs. Across the planet, humanity's resistance had evolved into something the Assembly had never encountered before. In Africa, warriors armed with repurposed alien tech moved like ghosts through the jungle, systematically dismantling Assembly control centers. In South America, guerrilla fighters used modified teleportation technology to appear and disappear at will, driving the invaders mad with paranoia. The Assembly's remaining ground forces found themselves facing an enemy that seemed to be everywhere and nowhere. Humans had taken their advanced technology and combined it with centuries of guerrilla warfare experience, creating hybrid tactics that the Assembly's rigid military doctrine couldn't counter. But it was in the realm of artificial intelligence that humanity truly excelled. While the Assembly had created AIs to serve, humans created them to collaborate. The resulting partnerships between human intuition and machine intelligence produced innovations that bordered on the impossible. "Sir," a junior officer interrupted General Crox's strategic meeting, "we're detecting anomalies in our quantum network. The humans, they're not just hacking our systems anymore. They're rewriting the fundamental laws we built them on." In her underground lab, Dr. Paddle smiled as her team activated their quantum consciousness interface. Unlike the Assembly's hierarchical networks, this one was built on principles of cooperation and mutual growth. As the system came online, every piece of captured Assembly technology began to transform, evolving beyond its original purpose. They thought technology was about control. She transmitted to resistance cells worldwide. "We're showing them it's about possibility." They built walls. We're building bridges. They sought to contain. We seek to expand. And now, we're about to show them what happens when you give humanity the tools to reach for the stars. The Assembly's remaining leaders watched in growing horror as their carefully constructed empire began to unravel. Their technology, once a symbol of their superiority, was being transformed into something new, something they couldn't predict or control. And at the heart of it all were the humans they had so gravely underestimated. Commander Chen's voice echoed through every resistance communication channel. "For all of human history, we've faced extinction-level threats. Ice ages, plagues, world wars. Each time, we didn't just survive. We emerged stronger, smarter, more adaptable." The Assembly thought they were bringing advanced technology to primitives. Instead, they gave tools of liberation to the most innovative species in the galaxy. And now it's time to show them exactly what humanity can do when pushed to evolve. The Assembly's reinforcement fleet emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, 50,000 ships strong. Supreme Commander Valdrix stood on the bridge of the supercarrier Eternal Dominion, confident that this overwhelming force would finally crush the human resistance. "Status report," Valdrix demanded, his crystalline form pulsing with anticipation. "No response from our ground forces on Earth, Commander. All quantum communication channels remain compromised. Long-range sensors detect no enemy fleet in orbit." Valdrix's confidence wavered slightly. The silence was unsettling. "Move the fleet forward. Standard combat formation. They cannot hide an entire planetary defense force." The massive armada advanced toward Earth, weapons primed, quantum shields at maximum power. They passed Mars without incident. No resistance, no attacks, just silence. Then everything changed. The space between Mars and Earth suddenly rippled, as if reality itself was being torn apart. Thousands of small objects appeared simultaneously, surrounding the Assembly fleet in a three-dimensional grid pattern. "Analysis," Valdrix demanded. "They appear to be human satellites. Sir, primitive construction, minimal power signatures." The officer's report cut off as every single satellite activated simultaneously. What happened next would be debated in Assembly war colleges for centuries to come. The satellites didn't attack. They transformed. Each one unfolded like a blooming flower, revealing hybridized human assembly technology that defied conventional understanding. Before the Assembly fleet could react, the satellites created an interlocking network of quantum fields. Commander Sarah Chen's voice broadcast across every assembly channel. Thank you for arriving exactly where we predicted. You always did prefer the direct approach. The quantum field network activated. In an instant, the assembly fleet's carefully coordinated formation was shattered. Ships found themselves unable to maintain their positions as localized space-time distortions played havoc with their navigation systems. Impossible. Valdrick's rage. Their technology is too primitive to. Primitive. Chen's voice carried a hint of amusement. We stopped being primitive the moment you showed us what was possible. The difference is we didn't just copy your technology. We reimagined it. From Earth's surface, hundreds of launch sites activated simultaneously. But instead of missiles or ships, they fired what appeared to be simple metal spheres. The assembly's tactical officers barely had time to register them as threats before they struck. Each sphere contained a quantum consciousness core, similar to those the assembly used to control their ships, but fundamentally transformed by Dr. Patel's breakthroughs. As they impacted the assembly's quantum shields, they didn't try to break through. They merged with them. Your shields are based on quantum entanglement. Dr. Patel's voice joined the broadcast. Beautiful technology, really. But you never considered what would happen if someone introduced new variables into the entanglement pattern. The assembly's mighty shields, their proudest defensive achievement, began to turn against them. Ships that had been untouchable for millennia suddenly found their own protection systems becoming unpredictable, even hostile. From hidden bases across the solar system, Earth's new defense fleet finally revealed itself. The ships were smaller than the assembly's massive vessels, but they moved with impossible agility. Each one represented a fusion of human ingenuity and assembly technology, piloted by hybrid teams of human operators and evolved AI partners. You taught us about quantum physics, Chen continued as her fleet engaged. We taught ourselves how to dance with it. The battle that followed would redefine warfare in the galaxy. Assembly ships found their weapons turning back on themselves, their navigation systems leading them into collision courses, their sophisticated AI cores being overwhelmed by human-designed viral consciousness programs. From his command center in the Himalayan facility, Dr. Rodriguez coordinated the ground-based assault, launched the Prometheus swarms. Millions of microscopic robots, each one carrying a fragment of transformed assembly code, swarmed through space. They infiltrated the assembly ships through quantum shield fluctuations, transforming their rigid command structures into chaotic battlegrounds. Your greatest weakness, Rodriguez transmitted to the failing assembly fleet, was assuming that bigger meant better. That control meant strength. We learned long ago that true power comes from adaptation, from finding ways to turn disadvantage into opportunity. Valdrick watched in horror as his mighty fleet was systematically dismantled by an enemy they had dismissed as primitive barely 2 months ago. The humans weren't just defeating them. They were deconstructing everything the assembly had built their civilization upon. How? He demanded. How did you advance so far so quickly? The answer came from 1,000 human voices, speaking as one through the transformed quantum network, because you gave us no choice. Throughout our history, humanity has faced extinction-level threats. Each time, we evolved. Each time, we grew stronger. You didn't come to Earth as liberators or conquerors. You came as our next great filter. And like every filter before you, you forced us to become something more than we were. As the last assembly ships fell silent or flowed in terror, Commander Chen broadcast a final message to the galaxy. Let this be a lesson to any who would think to enslave humanity. We are not your servants. We are not your subjects. We are humanity. And we will never stop evolving. 1 year after the Battle of Seoul, the great dome of the assembly chamber stood silent and dark. The mighty ring world of Nexus Prime, once the proud center of galactic civilization, now served as a monument to hubris. In its place, a new gathering was taking place on neutral ground, a space station of human design orbiting a binary star system. Supreme Arbiter Xylith, one of the few assembly leaders who had survived the war, faced the gathered representatives of both humanity and the former assembly species. Her once brilliant bioluminescence had dimmed with the weight of responsibility. "We gather today," she began, her thoughts transmitted through a new type of quantum network, one built on principles of mutual understanding rather than dominance, to acknowledge our greatest failure and forge a new path forward. Dr. Sarah Chen, now Earth's ambassador to the galaxy, stood before the gathering. The station's design reflected humanity's new philosophy: open spaces encouraging collaboration, transparent barriers symbolizing trust, and integration of organic and technological elements, demonstrating harmony between different forms of life. "A year ago, your assembly voted unanimously to enslave humanity," Chen addressed the gathered species. "Today, we offer something your civilization never considered: partnership." Displays activated around the chamber, showing the transformation that had swept across the galaxy. Human innovations had spread rapidly, not through conquest, but through collaboration. The rigid hierarchies of assembly technology had been replaced by adaptive systems that learned and grew alongside their users. Dr. Patel, whose breakthroughs in quantum consciousness had revolutionized galactic computing, explained further: "We discovered that the assembly's technology was built on principles of control and submission. But humanity's strength has always been in cooperation, in finding ways to combine different approaches to create something greater than the sum of its parts." Former Security Director Mouse, his black chitinous armor now bearing marks of war, spoke next. "We thought we were superior because we had achieved technological stability. We never realized that stability had become stagnation. The humans showed us that true advancement comes from embracing change, from being willing to question everything we thought we knew." Across the galaxy, the impact of humanity's victory had sparked a renaissance. Species that had been subjugated by the assembly for millennia were rediscovering their own innovative potential. Earth had become a center of learning, where representatives from thousands of worlds came to study not just technology, but the human capacity for adaptation and growth. "We've established the Galactic Exchange Program," Rodriguez announced to the gathering. "Already, millions of beings from across the galaxy have come to Earth to learn and share knowledge. In return, humanity has gained insights into cultures and technologies we never dreamed possible." The changes weren't just technological. Human concepts of democracy, individual rights, and collective cooperation had spread rapidly through the former assembly worlds. Species that had been locked in rigid hierarchies for countless generations were discovering new ways of organizing their societies. Junior Observer Ethra, now a senior diplomat, addressed her former masters. The assembly's greatest mistake wasn't just underestimating human technology. It was failing to understand that humanity's true strength lies in its diversity, its adaptability, and its unshakable will to forge its own destiny. Commander Chen, who had led Earth's defense fleet to victory, stepped forward. "We could have sought revenge. We could have used our technological advantages to establish a new empire. Instead, we choose to build something unprecedented: a galactic community based on mutual respect, shared knowledge, and collective growth." The new Galactic Charter was displayed for all to see. Unlike the Assembly's rigid laws, this was a living document, designed to evolve as its member species grew and changed. At its core were principles that humanity had learned through millennia of struggle: the right to self-determination, the value of diversity, and the importance of balancing individual freedom with collective responsibility. "Let this be remembered," Chen concluded, "not as the day humanity conquered the galaxy, but as the day we all chose to grow beyond conquest. The stars belong not to any one species, but to all who dare to dream, to innovate, and to work together." As the charter was ratified by species after species, a new era dawned in the galaxy. The Assembly's fall had cleared the way for something greater: a civilization that embraced change rather than feared it, that saw strength in diversity rather than uniformity, that understood that true power comes not from controlling others, but from helping them reach their full potential. And in the heart of this new order stood humanity, not as conquerors or masters, but as teachers, partners, and living proof that the universe's greatest strength lies not in the power to subjugate, but in the courage to evolve, adapt, and grow together. The galaxy had learned its lesson. Never underestimate a species that turns adversity into advantage, that transforms threats into opportunities, and that faces the impossible not with fear, but with unwavering determination to overcome it.